Hey everyone, and welcome to Order Up, the Final Order Cutoff show. We have an amazing jam-packed show for you this weekend with some incredible guests. We have the guys from Recca, some absolute pillars in the comic book industry to tell you exactly what the future is in this comic book industry, not just in the industry as a whole, but what the content of a specific comic is. And we will have a introduction of the giant size X-Men with Jackson Lansing and Colin Kelly that is all going to start this free comic book day, which is coming up. But all of that and more will start momentarily with my wonderful co-host and producer Kyle after these messages. Hi everyone, I'm Mathias Lewis, and I'm here to talk to you about FOC, or Final Order Cutoff. It is the last chance that we, the comic retailers, have to finalize our orders for comics releasing roughly 3 to 6 weeks out from the Mondays we finalize our orders. We deal with this every Monday, but this is important to you, the consumer, because it is the perfect time to reach out to your local comic shop if you want any specific or guaranteed items. If you want the Jim Lee or Dan Mora covers of Justice League Unlimited, reach out to your local comic shop and let us know. If you want the new issue of Lilo and Stitch, this is the perfect time to tell us. Because as long as you can get us the orders before Monday at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, that will give your local comic shop retailer enough time to finalize that order, adding in whatever it is you want, so they can guarantee when it releases, we have a copy set aside waiting for you. So, always reach out to your local comic shop before 6 p.m. on Mondays with the comics you want. The sooner, the better, to guarantee they're waiting for you. All right, and we are going to be focusing on comics that are on Final Order Cutoff this Monday, April 28th. I looked over at the side camera to see exactly what Monday was. April 28th, and there is a lot of great books, but we're doing the show a little bit different. So I want to remind everyone, you can see all of the comics that are on Final Order Cutoff each week by going to two key websites. Previewsworld.com/finalordersdue will cover just about everything from Image to Marvel, Oni to Dark Horse, Boom, etc. And you can always check at previewsworld.com/finalordersdue exactly when the orders are due right there in the upper right-hand corner. But if you want to see DC, Mad Cave, and perhaps a more in-depth look at publishers like Image, you're going to want to go to lunardistribution.com, where you'll be introduced to a webpage like this, and you can scroll down just a little bit to upcoming FOC. You'll make sure that the date is the correct date, and you'll be able to see all the comics that Lunar is distributing. Between these two websites, you'll see almost every comic that is out each Final Order Cutoff week, so you can let your local comic shop know exactly what you want, what books, what covers, and they can have them waiting for you when you come in. But we're going to...
Real fast, Mathias, something I want to point out because it came up to me this week. Previews World cuts off at this FOC. Lunar, you can work a little bit further ahead if you're somebody who's like, I'm going on vacation, I want to get my FOC stuff done. Lunar, you can work a little bit further ahead, and you can get enough information from Lunar that will cover your Previews World. So just somebody asked me about it this week, and I wanted to point it out.
Yeah, absolutely. And there are other websites that offer this. These are the two that we find the most reliable because they come from distributors that are providing your local comic shop with the comics you enjoy. But speaking of comics that you will enjoy, I want to introduce you to a group of people who are putting together an incredible comic that I am very, very excited for. The guys from Recca. We have pillars of the comic industry. We have Fred Van Lente, Joe Keating, and Adam Freeman.
Pillars.
I mean, Adam, how long have you been in the industry?
Really, it wasn't that long, but I turned around and looked at Sodom and Gomorrah, and here I am. That was a Bible joke, people.
Pillars of
A
Salt.
little
I got
salty
it.
right there.
Yeah.
A little salty.
Got it. How long have I been in the industry? I started working in a comic book shop in 1993. That led to me buying the shop in 2000, which led to us winning the Eisner in 2008, which the economic crash led to me moving into publishing in 2010, and I've been hopping around publishing ever since. So, yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I would say that's pretty Pillar-esque. You've been in just about every part of this industry. And on top of that, you're now working as the founder of Prana, the direct market solutions company.
Mm-hmm.
And you are helping to publish this amazing comic that Joseph is editing and Fred is writing.
Absolutely.
The future is. So let's talk a little bit about this. This is produced by Black Hills Information Security, which is a major name in technology and information security, but not necessarily a major name in comics. Not yet. Let's get that out. So, based out of South Dakota, where the Black Hills are, this company has decided to enter the world of comic books. And I believe one of their earlier comic books was written by Joseph. So, Joseph, how were you introduced to this, and how did this start coming together, where we are soon to have a brand new comic on FOC this Monday?
Yeah, well, talking about working in comics a long time. So back in the past, I used to work at a company called Image Comics. And back then, there was a comic book store in Florida called Comic Book Store, and that was co-run by Jason Blanchard. All these years later, Jason's working at this company. I'm now working freelance and writing and editing. He gets the idea he wants to do a comic publisher, and so we worked on a few kind of like prototype comics to see like, all right, well, let's see what it's like for a cybersecurity company to start publishing comics. And so we did one with Rob Guillory called Bear versus Bear, and then we did 2 adaptations of Darknet Diaries that was kind of concurrent with when they were starting to figure out the future is, and those were with John Arcudi, Owen Janney, and Cody Chamberlain. But then, yeah, simultaneously, they were also like, well, what if we also think about what it'd be like to do an ongoing series? And that's when they brought in Adam Freeman.
All right.
Yeah, so they just to keep that narrative going, they brought me in, and I'd been talking to Jason very early on before they even started the Bear versus Bear project, and was kind of on consulting, something that we do for a lot of different clients, just kind of teaching them how comics works. Oftentimes, when there's companies that don't want, really what they want, but they know they want to be in comics, they hire us, and we kind of show them the ropes. But we were doing that with them and introduced them to Fred, who is, was I knew to be an incredible writer who could handle both comics, but also look at nonfiction, because back then they wanted to do nonfiction stories about hackers, these incredible cybersecurity professionals whose job it is to break into shit and fix it. And I knew that of the writers that I had worked with over the years, that Fred, man, always can nail that so well, and is so curious and so capable of absorbing new data and creating narratives out of it that feel natural to even the people who know it well. And so brought him in, and that's where I'm going to throw the baton at Fred.
Well, Fred, you are a brilliant comic writer from everywhere, Valiant to Marvel. You're an Ignatz Award-winning author who did Action Philosophers and my son's favorite, Action Presidents. So these are great books, but they don't seem necessarily tech-driven. What led you to be the perfect choice for this amazing series?
Perfect's a little strong, but well, I love as Adam alluded to, I love learning things, and this is a field that I didn't know a whole heck of a lot about. Like I spent my early 20s and earlier in the 80s soaking up like William Gibson and Snow Crash and all that kind of stuff. So I was sort of steeped in like the whole cyberpunk milieu. But I've worked for like enough tech companies, like, believe it or not, I worked for like Telltale Games and Disney Games and a lot of video game companies. So I'm not totally like ignorant of the tech world in general, a lot what goes on there. But, Black Hills does an incredible job of just educating you about hacking, not just for professionals, but for people just sort of interested in it. And they gave me this game called Backdoors and Breaches, which is kind of like this Magic the Gathering, but for hackers. And I absorbed a lot of that very quickly. And I sort of saw it sort of gets you down the structure of a hack, starting with, initial approach to penetration to sticking around in there. And so I had a great kind of, resource there. And the other thing that's cool is that very early on, after they gave me a couple books to read, well, I'll back up and say Jason had a really great idea. I think early on, Jason and John Strand from Black Hills, they realized that it's a comic and it needed a strong visual component, right? Nothing is more boring than panel after panel of guys typing, code, or fighting people who are bad people who are typing code. So they gave me a book called Super Sight. It's about something called augmented reality, which is basically where the internet is sort of thrown over your eyeballs. These days you do things like Oculus or Google Glass, but if you've played Pokemon Go on your phone, that's augmented reality, right? The games, you hold the camera out and you're seeing the real world. There's just now Pokemons in them. And I thought that was a really cool element to have a future world where augmented reality was becoming standard. We get rid of these things, no longer necessary. We just have implants in our heads where the internet is projected onto us all times. We click through eye movements. And that is, utopia for some and a nightmare for others. And just really a great visual way to key on to making stories. So people have things like skins where they're walking around essentially with video game avatars, just walking around, I'm going to have a skin. I just want to be a cat all the time. And so cat people walking around, it's totally weird. Some people are like, some people imagine are going to pay a lot of money to be like, I'm going to be Thor. It's like real life cosplay all the time. And so it was a neat sort of milieu, and I just kind of ran with it. And we had a meeting in the basement of Anyone Comics, of a comic book store here in Brooklyn, that I know Prana had offices in, and just talking with those guys for a day, I just came up with all these stories. I came in with a couple ideas based on my reading, but really just talking to these guys, so many characters and situations just came out of that back and forth in person.
Awesome. So out of that, we get this brand new comic that is on FOC this Monday. The Future Is. And the first question I get from everyone is, what is the future? Obviously, the title has a number of asterisks in there. So we have the perfect audience here. What is the future in this title?
I can speak for Jason a little bit. We keep using Jason's name. Jason Blanchard is really kind of the visionary behind this whole thing. He's as has been mentioned before, he ran a comic shop in Florida at the time, probably the most influential comic shop that was going on. The reason you have a $1 menu of dollar books comes from suggestions that they made. Jason then went on to work at DC for a bit, and then he worked at Diamond running Free Comic Book Day for a little while before he moved into cybersecurity. So the guy loves comics, and he loves technology, and he loves talking about what the future is, right? And the thing about we're dealing with these hackers now is that you are dealing with some of the scariest people you will ever meet, because they continually, on a daily basis, are trying to break things in order to make them stronger. And that means that they can see all the ways that things are going to be broken. They can tell you all the ways that China is going to shut down the American water system. They can tell you all of the ways that that things can go really, really bad very, very quickly, because they're always working towards a future where that doesn't happen, right? They have to imagine something broken in order to fix it. And the strange thing that happens is when you deal with these people, on the one hand, they're absolutely terrifying. On the other hand, they also are incredible optimists, because they see these tools that they have that are not only capable of destruction, but are also capable of creation. And so the future is many things. As many people have pointed out, the future is fucked, but it's also, the future is bright. And the future is many other 6-letter words that aren't coming to me because I'm on cold medication. It's the future is. It just is. There's nothing you can do about it.
And what's fun, Mathias, is that each issue is a different answer to that question. Right? We're gonna be dealing with all sorts of like one issue is the future of food. One issue is people living in orbit. One issue is the future of prisons, right? That what if you no longer needed an actual prison with walls? What if life became somebody's prison? So it's kind of a fun, one thing I like to describe it as is Black Mirror meets Mission Impossible. It's a lot of like scary stuff, but on the other hand, we have the folks you see on the screen right now, our heroes trying to fight against that scary future.
So just to be clear, for everyone that's worried, the future isn't simply a 6-lettered censored bad word. It is something that you will discover in every issue. Fred, can you tell us a little bit about the heroes that we see on the cover of this beautiful Jay Lee cover that are going to show us what the future is?
Yeah, this is a really nice cross-section of the gang, of the Black Mountain Gang, as they're known. They're essentially vigilante hackers working pro bono on behalf of the people who might get crushed or being screwed by unfortunate aspects of the future. On the left there, the guy in the purple shades is Wheeler, who is the mysterious organizer of this gang. I'll be honest, a big inspiration from this was The Shadow, the pulp series, where the Shadow mysteriously rescues a bunch of people and then has this whole network of agents running around him. I definitely, this is an homage / utter ripoff of that aspect of the Shadow. There's Sally to the right of Wheeler. She's our senior citizen on the team. This is inspired by somebody that actually works for Black Hills, whom John and Jason were talking about. She wears an exoskeleton all the time because she lived in orbit for 2 decades. And so when you live in zero gravity, your bones and your muscles get very weak. So when you come back to Earth, for reasons that will become clear in the future, she has to wear an exoskeleton to otherwise her lungs will collapse and she won't be able to walk because gravity too much for her. But she's added all sorts of doodads and stuff to that exoskeleton, so that makes her super up. There she is. That's the origin issue. That's going to be our issue 4. Right?
4. Yep.
In direct market. And the right is Martina De Leon. She's the meat work specialist. She's the person actually sneaking into places. That's her origin issue. That's number 2. She is an Olympiad athlete turned trophy wife turned badass infiltrator. How she gets out of that trophy wife situation is the subject of issue 2. In the middle, there's Eli, who, despite being very persnickety and kind of the Tony Randall of the Odd Couple of the group, is the heir to a vast criminal mafia. He is the son of a huge mafia leader, and so that sort of makes his background very interesting, especially as finding out weaknesses or vulns, which is lingo for vulnerabilities in systems, and then below him is the dog Arf. So you may notice that each of our characters, you see a wolf, you see a jackalope, you see a flying fish, you see Tuffy there. These are sprites. These are characters or avatars that people in the future will use to interact directly with the internet. They're essentially there's the internet, and then there's the sprites, which are a combination of you and the internet. There's sort of the interface there. And what's fun about Arf, the dog, is that he is actually the service support animal for that dolly-looking head at the bottom. Art, who is a machine intelligence, who's very high-strung and needs emotional support dog like Arf to be his service animal. So he actually lives on a node. This artificial intelligence is on Arf's collar. So yeah, they're just a bunch of regular Joes.
Punching a clock.
18 of the future.
Just lunch pail guys.
All right. So this first issue, which will be releasing on May 28th, is quite the package. It is a 112-page book, and it is an absolute steal at $13.37. But that's a weird price, $13.37. Normally, we're used to a world of $14.99, $9.99, things that end in 99. So Let's give the first hint of this future. Why is it priced $13.37?
That is this hacker term for leet, which goes back a long way for the 2600 days. And every issue is 404, which I think people will be a little bit more familiar with. But part of the goal with this book is to tell a great story. Like John had two rules. One was make great comics, end of story. And the number two was that the reader is the hero of the story, right? And so everything down from our pricing, like that communicates, to the cybersecurity audience, like what we're doing, who we are. And actually, if I can talk about another element of the book. So on the final version of this cover, there's going to be a weird code on the right-hand side. That's indicative, spoilers, for the thing we call captured flag challenges. It's really prevalent in the cybersecurity community. They kind of test and teach different aspects of cybersecurity and hacking. There's going to be around 3 to 4 per issue. There's always going to be one on the cover. They may tell you something about what that 6-letter term means every single issue. But it's just like another way for us to, anytime you see, especially in the first issue, anytime they're breaking into this moon base, right? When they're doing that kind of thing, you can actually interact with those challenges and see what they're doing and learn something along the way. And along those lines too, there you go. We have a leaderboard, right? And the cool thing is, it's for the lifetime of this series. I don't think it's been mentioned yet, but we're calling our shots at 60 issues, 60. And for the life of that and beyond, there will be this leaderboard. So every single time anyone comes in, someone doesn't start reading until issue 9, they're able to interact and get part of this and merge these two communities together.
And that's an insane thought. You guys are committed not to a mini series of 4 or 6 issues, but 60. You guys are going, you have that set. There's no doubt in your mind you guys are hitting that?
No doubt at all. I mean, we've already got 4, what are we at? 4, 6 issues, something like that in the can. That we could go to press with. I mean, I hate saying this in front of Joe because it just blow his head out the back of his skull. But we go to press with these next week if we needed to, right? But the goal, we're working way ahead. We are already working 13, 14 issues deep into this production schedule. This company is designed to come out. Yes, Eddie, these are going to be monthly issues. The first one is coming out on the 28th, but every issue after that is coming out on the second Wednesday of the month. So you are going to be getting a new The Future Is on the second Wednesday of every month for the next 5 years. And there's a couple reasons for this, right? One is if we want to get people, we want to get the cybersecurity. There are 100,000 people in the Black Hills Information Security Discord server. They have well more than that in their email lists. They have an incredible reach inside of this world. It's going to take 5 years for us to kind of get them used to coming into comic shops on a monthly basis. That's going to take some work. We also know that this is a brand new publisher going into a field where there are lots of brand new publishers. Mathias, you and I, we've seen how deep are the headstones and the burial ground of comic book publishers that we've seen come and go. We know that this is going to take a while to get people interested. So the goal is to keep issue 1 available in some form or fashion for the next 5 years. Same for issues 2 through 7, 14, and so on. And the goal here is so that anytime somebody finally discovers this, they can go backwards and pick it all up from the beginning. And we want to make it as simple as we can for the retailers to make sure that they have these things in stock so that when these brand new fans are showing up at issue 18, that they're going to do that. Our goal is not to come out of the gate with a big number. I've worked with publishers who love that big opening number, right? And then you see that issue 2 and it just, craters. That's not where we're at. Where we're at is we want a reasonable opening number because we know that this is going to be long-term. We know that we've given retailers returnability with affidavit returns so that it's much easier for you to order. We want to see that there's a decent inventory from the beginning. We want to see you restock 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 up until when we see a trade paperback. We want to see those things because we want to see sales go up instead of down. right? Instead of doing what every other publisher is doing, which is let's set the bar so high that we can coast for the next 4, 6, 8 issues and then cut it off so that we can start again and drop. We want to start reasonable. We'll probably come down a little bit, and then the rise should, if we're getting this right, should be well bigger than where we started.
All right. Well, for the consumers who are watching, obviously you're teaching them a little bit about hacking with the capture the flag games and other fun parts of this amazing storytelling. But for the retailers that are watching, are you going to be training all of these hackers and security tech people how to use Final Order Cutoff and come into their local comic shop to get these books ordered? What is Black Hills doing on that?
Absolutely, Joe. Tell them about the two different stories that we've done with Bear versus Bear that are attached to this.
Yeah, so Bear versus Bear is back, and so we're doing two different things. One is a one pager, and it's like, hey, look, here's how you order comic books from your comic book shops. You want more Futuriz? Done. One page, you're in, you're out. You know what to do. There's actionable things to take that to your retailer and go do. We're also doing, which actually is like a 4-page flyer with a 2-page comic in the middle that communicates like, look, because Jason did a killer presentation at Comics Pro. Bleeding Cool said it was the best comic book presentation they ever saw. That was like, here's how to protect your comic book shops, right, from cybersecurity. And it was like really, really, really actionable, really tactical. Here's essentially your cyber go bag. I think it's the term that keeps coming up. So now we do that for everybody else, right? For comic book readers and for people in cybersecurity. So those two things, obviously, those two comics going to bridge the gap between the two. And we're going to be doing more and more and more and more like that over the year, whether it's in terms of comics or other things. But it's really about bringing these two worlds together and doing things counterintuitively that I think, to Adam's point, we're aiming for the long term. Like we're aiming for the future. We're aiming for 2030. So
I love it. So Fred, do you already have a full plan for where this story is going to issue 60? And is there any room where, if this is the most amazing thing that people cannot get enough of, it will continue past the 5-year mark?
I love that. That's the most comic book question ever. What's going to happen in issue 61, though?
If we do a write-in campaign, we do a send-in postcards, we can go to issue 62, right?
That's right. Exactly. No, in all seriousness, great question. Yes, the answer is yes. We do have a plan for the entire 60 issues. It's pretty awesome. Which is not to say that, whenever you're, as my favorite philosopher, Mike Tyson, once said, everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face. There's definitely room. There's definitely wiggle room. It's not such a locked in thing that we can't adjust on the fly. And the great thing about creating, right, is it's also a process of discovery. It's not just executing a plan. It's going on a journey where you discover new things on the way. So I think we have the best of both worlds here, where we have a clear vision and clear direction, but it isn't stifling. It's not, it's not a box. It's a map.
All right. So we've talked a ton of things here. Everything from the cool makeup of this incredible comic, all of the buildup of how it came to. We even know the amazing cast. But in a few short weeks, people are going to be getting the first copy of this thick The Future Is #1. What can readers expect in this opening story? What is the team doing?
So it's at the request of Black Hills. I think that was a great idea on their part. It's a standalone graphic novel as our issue 1 of the team, essentially going on a heist in a casino on the moon. And if you're not sold there, what else to do for you? And they, they're taking down an extremely powerful person who basically is doing human trafficking in a casino on the moon, and they've got to get in and out, essentially without being detected. And the thing about the moon is it is 3 days away by our fastest currently means of getting to the moon. So they're all out there on their own in a place with no law and no one to protect them. So we're swinging for the fences at our first at bat.
It should be noted, like, this is a team book. and we wanted to tell the stories of how this team came together, but we wanted to begin with a story where they're all together, which is why Fred came up with this amazing story about the team taking down this billionaire trillionaire who will feel familiar. You might want to label him as somebody we all know, but it'll feel familiar. But this team is together. They get through an entire adventure, and then we stop. And then in issue 2 through to issue 7, we end up with a single issue, and then one double issue there at the end, origin stories, where we get to see the team come together. So it would be as though you saw an Ocean's 11, and then in Ocean's 12, they went through and talked about how each one of those guys joined the team. That's what we're looking at.
Great way to go. And as somebody who has read the first few issues, you are absolutely hooked when you complete that first graphic novel. You don't even have to complete the graphic novel. About a third of the way through, you're hooked, and you want to read all 60 issues of this.
Yeah. So
I love the fact that you guys got an incredible Jay Lee cover on there that shows the entire team right there. This is an easy win. If you're looking for a good sci-fi graphic novel, you're going to want to reach out to your local comic shop. The sooner the better, but definitely before Monday, and let them know that you want issue number 1. One of the things I really love about this, you guys seem to be just doing one cover. You're not falling into the tropes that so many other new publishers do of a million variants or the like. You are trying to keep this number 1 in print, but this is definitely something that viewers are going to want to go to their local comic shop, because this is a new publisher, and let them know you want the future is. And let me ask, for you guys, when you're talking to your local comic shops, is it simply the future is, or is there a longer name to it? How do you define the title?
Well, 2 things to touch on. One is I would just ask for the futures through Lunar Distribution. They could hook you up right there. But dude, yeah, that cover strategy, you nailed 100%. Here's my pledge to you as the reader. I help them put together, and everyone's helping out with this. Every single cover is by an absolute banger, right? Like every single one's going to rock and roll. Like I've got Jay Lee, on the first one. I also have more coming from Jay. It's not announced yet, but it's coming. I've got Mike Huddleston, Rob Guillory, Jim Mahfood, Brandon Graham, Nick Patera, Michael Allred, and some other guys. I mean, every single one is going to be somebody awesome. I've got guys through actually pretty far ahead at this point. So, yeah, it's good. Everyone's going to be good. So whether you know what this thing is or not, you're going to see it. By the way, I want to note that Ryan Hughes did the logo. So you got this killer Ryan Hughes logo, which you can see from across the moon. It's going to be amazing. And then there's another awesome, cover on there. So, yeah. And just as one thing, and that's the thing. And then you read that, and it's great. We want to. Adam's strategy for this is perfect. Like we want readers for a big story for 60 issues, so we're not trying to shortchange people after just 4 issues or 5 issues or whatever. Yeah, and we've got some cool guest artists coming in for interiors. Not going to get into that right now, but guys, every one of these is on fire, and Fred is killing it. Like, I'm not going to get into the specifics of what, but I do want to publicly just tell you, issue 8, the script for that is good. It was one of the hardest scripts to do. It changes things tonally, but it's amazing. And I've been working on this book. I was in the room when we were doing the whole outline for it through 60. I was blown away. So good job, dude. That was awesome.
Very much appreciated.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I mean, there's nothing there not to love. 112 pages for $13.37. It's easy to get a hold of. You just need to reach out to your local retailer and tell them you want this book. Not only do you get great storytelling, brilliant covers and artwork in the interiors, but you get a game. Every issue has a game in it with the Capture the Flag module, and you can even compete with your friends, other customers at the shop, or even perhaps the retailer who runs your shop as well. I can already tell you I am barely on the leaderboard. Anyone can beat me because I'm still stuck trying to figure things out.
Dude, I hear you.
You may be able to compete against other EXP viewers too. Like,
it's true.
I'm working on that one.
Still
A
stuck
lot
in
of
this
code.
right here.
Maybe the Black Hills people can help me with the code.
Before you reach out to Prana, Comic Direct Market and CTF solution.
Joe is our resident, has become a resident CTF expert. Like he's legitimately done the deep cultural dive into these. Most of the time I go, why don't you ask Joe? but man,
we've got a good team, man. Like Black Hills, Fred mentioned this with the story stuff, but on this end, like we couldn't do it without Jason, but there's also Deb on the team too. Like I love doing CTFs, but she's the one when it comes to that, But yeah, we're learning a lot, we're doing a lot, and we're bringing it to comics to cybersecurity. It's gonna be a good time for the next 5 years.
Garth Wong asks, are we able to get cool Rekka gear? If you go right now to the Black Hill Spearfish general store, let me see if I can pull that up for you. They actually have that Rekka hoodie, and Mathias can account to how comfy that thing is.
Oh, this is actually Kyle was the one ranting about it earlier.
There we go.
He's rocking it too. Kyle, you said it best. You want to talk up how great that hoodie is, or how awesome Joe's hat is?
So I'm someone who struggles to find branded hoodies. I'm going to throw that out there. If you are someone who needs more X's than an adult theater in the size of their shirt, they have them for you. But it's like 80 degrees here, and I'm not sweating my back off like wearing this hoodie, but it's warm enough that when it was cold the other day, I was still comfortable. And like high quality, like this zipper is like actual metal zipper, like that's not going to fall apart. Don't get your beard caught in it. Just throwing that one out there. That's a problem. But this is like high quality, like a nice hoodie. And then you got Joe's hat. Like there isn't a lot of wearable marketing merch that publishers do anymore. It's an expense that a lot of folks have gone, it ain't worth it. Yeah. It's worth it here. Okay. Spend the money. It's a hoodie that will last you the length of this series and more. When your hoodie will still be warm.
Hey, Joe, why should they order two when they order one? Why should they order
two when they order one?
Yeah, because where's yours?
What? Oh, yeah. That's a good point. Yeah, it's been stolen by my wife here, and she loves it so much. It's such a great hoodie. And I'll tell you, I'm wearing this hat, not just because we're on this live stream. It's a great hat. I mean, Adam, Fred, you saw this hat in person. We were at a conference that they were putting on, and I was just admiring. This is not a joke, guys. I'm not hyping this up. This is just reality of the situation. I was admiring the craftsmanship of this hat, and I was like, guys, like this hat's coming home with me, and they were very generous. So, and
just as a third add-on to the quality of the quality of the shirt and everything, the shipping was fast. Like I ordered it and had it in like a week. Yeah. Like sometimes you order these things and like they got to print them, and it's 6 months later, and you're like, oh, that wrestling faction I ordered that shirt for has broken up already. Like Rekka hasn't even started, and I've got my Rekka gear. So like, just throwing it out there, fast, easy shipping.
Kyle, I don't know why, but I dropped the link in the private chat. If you want to put that,
I'm throwing it up there.
Please feel free.
No, I want to say once again one last piece on these amazing jackets. I was in San Diego on Tuesday, wearing this jacket where it was boiling hot, and it was awesome. And now I'm in Canada right now where it is freezing cold, wearing this jacket, and I'm like, this is a nice, I can wear this anywhere level of temperate.
Well, that's it. I didn't realize we were going to get into a full infomercial about their gear, their merch, but yeah, y'all should definitely
good stuff.
Because while it's entirely possible
as good as this
available from your comic shop, you absolutely should subscribe to The Future Is before you go and order the merch. But please order the merch, yes.
And when you get the merch, check your pockets.
Yes,
that's true. Yes, that's right. They always have little surprises in the pockets.
And you can get I believe you can get the Kickstarter, previously Kickstarter exclusive version of the first issue on the
right on, yeah.
Same. So you can get comics and clothing at the same time. It's a one-stop shop, people.
And
I do want to talk about that very briefly, though.
And so much else. Absolutely.
Yeah, this Kickstarter was back in April 2024. It was funded in less than an hour and cleared over $70,000. But this is definitely still a different version than what you're going to be getting in your local comic shop. I mean, I love this cover. Don't get me wrong. I love this content. But the Jay Lee cover exclusive. You have to go to your local comic shop and get that order.
Yes.
You know, if you want the proper way of getting issues 2 and 3 onward, these are not the same versions you're going to get in your store. So as cool as it is to track down those Kickstarter exclusives, they by no means counteract the final product that you're going to be getting at your local comic shop, correct?
Absolutely.
100%. And if you are a CTF fan, which I predict there are going to be more and more CTF fans at comic shops by the end of this than when we started. If you are a CTF fan, there are different CTFs on the new covers in the new versions. So we update a lot of stuff every time there's a new printing. So you're not going to get the full experience, nor are you going to get all the points if you just, wait around for what may come through Kickstarter. Yeah.
Or trades even, Adam?
Well, listen, the trade paperbacks, when those happen, there may be some special they put shit in the pockets when they send you merch. Of course we like a little secret surprises. Of course we do. Every time there's going to be a new version, there's going to be some new secret surprise.
Don't miss out, people. Go to your comic shop.
Codes and games all the way down. It's just turtles all the way down, baby. That's it.
All right. So before we let you guys go,
yeah,
I need a pitch from each of you you have the quick, you're standing at your local comic shop behind the register trying to tell everyone who's watching right now why they need The Future Is. What is your quick pitch on this book?
Black Mirror meets Mission Impossible. Keep it simple.
Yeah, there was in this list, there was a line of text that I really liked. It was based off text that Fred wrote for our intro. That's in every issue. The hacker wars are over. The black hats, that guy is one who will save us from the world that's coming, and in an hour where there's a billion comics about how, and stories and TV shows and movies about how the world's going to drown us, this one shows you how we're going to swim, and this one shows you how we're going to fight for a better future.
Hope, baby.
All right, Adam, you got one?
Turtles all the way down.
No, put turtles in the comic. And
is
right,
Adam teasing a crossover with these turtles?
That's right.
That would be sick.
Get somebody on IDW on the horn.
If you don't actually know the origin of that phrase, you should look it up. It is a reference to what we are building here, but it is also, I think, what Joe was talking about is that the future is many, many, many things, and it is many things because we are the ones making it. And this is a conversation about that making of the future. And we all get to have it together, and we all get to create it together. And I think that we are exploring that in a way that no one else is. Yeah.
That's the one point where I would like to actually add that I don't like the Black Mirror reference only because this book gave me hope. That is awesome. The exciting thing is in an era filled with horror published comics and dark sci-fi, this was a book that at the end I felt good and I felt happy. And that is where I really, really loved The Future Is.
I will have to retool that pitch then. I like that. I'm being persuaded. You're making a lot of sense.
Black Mirror with hope. Although I did enjoy the newest season of Black Mirror. I think I just binged that while I was half conscious. It's really good. Anyway, yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. So awesome. Everyone who wants to know more about you guys and what's coming up, where can people find you online?
Still my name. It's everywhere on Flat Blue Sky, X.com, Facebook. It's my .com is fredvinley.com is my website.
I'm Adam Bang Freeman on a lot of different socials. I also Prana DMS. We've not done a good job of policing that. But also, if you're interested in RECA, look up Black Hills Information Security, BHIS. They do a ton on Discord, and we have an amazing Discord server that's great for fans who are up and coming, for cybersecurity professionals who want to talk about that stuff, and for retailers. We have a whole retailer section where you can interact with each other and with us and with the local hacker communities in your area. So any and all of those, and we're looking forward to kind of hosting you throughout.
And just as a little plug for other things, Adam is here every Tuesday at 2 for Comic Industry Insiders Live here on The Experience.
That is true. Thank you, Kyle. I don't always do.
Yeah, I was
good.
going to say, if you like interviews like this and you like somebody who interviews far better than I, Adam also has a great podcast that you can find.
That's true. I go to on YouTube. It's under Prana. I think it's under pranadm.com or Prana at pranadm. It's Comic Industry Insiders. Wherever your podcasts are, you can pick that up. And yeah, we do talk to people behind the scenes of the comic book industry and get to know what makes them tick and what brought them to where they are, and try and pull out what you can learn for your business or career in comics. Or if you're just really a big fan and you want to hear about the operations of publishing, which God bless you for being that kind of nerd. We do have a good time on that show, and the live show has been a nice extension for that, where I work with Brian Garside from Manage Comics, and we talk about what is happening behind the scenes of the comic book industry on a week-to-week basis. And these days, that's a lot. So we have plenty of ground to cover every week. Yep.
Joseph.
Yeah, just another plug for the Recca Discord. Like, we do have a lot of cybersecurity stuff on there. We do have a ton of comic stuff on there. I have a channel that's all just the editor's note stuff. I usually put stuff up that I probably shouldn't just yet. Early covers, stuff I'm talking about. I love comic books. So if you're looking for stuff like, hey, I bought The Future is #1. I've got 3 weeks till the next one. Like, what can I read in the interim? I love giving recommendations for stuff. I used to work at a comic shop. So Adam. So yeah, like that's the place to go for all your comics. For stuff about me, I'm on Instagram, at Joe Keating. I go there. I've got some other stuff in the pipe that'll be announced probably through there in the next couple months. But yeah, that's the place to go.
Awesome. And I love that, once again, it's all of you guys. You're the type of people who are going to send the support to your local comic shop. You guys know that, so you can trust in this comic being something that you can find on time. They're ahead. I love the pricing, because I imagine you're not changing that 404 price tag on future issues no matter what, right?
We are. I am very busy behind the scenes negotiating with printers and distributors to confirm that we can actually continue to give that price all the way down, all the way to the end of this series. And I'm not giving you like a Scout's honor promise, but I can tell you we're going to work real, real hard to keep it, because it's too good. It's too good. 404. I mean, it just says what it needs to say.
And we just love to hear the grumbling already of having to make 96 cents change.
Exactly. Awesome.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us. You can remember, go reach out to your local comic shop. Let them know you want The Future Is, because the future, I think, is bright, especially with this book. It releases May 28th. FOC is this Monday, April 28th. Wow, I didn't realize we were having that synchronization of timing there.
It doesn't release May 28th.
No, it is out on May 28th. It's in stores on May 28th. The FOC is on April 28th.
Cool.
Yes. 100%.
All right.
All right.
Thank you guys so much for joining us.
Thanks, guys.
All right. Now, we're not doing our traditional rundown of everything, but we decided to extend this week's top 10 to a top 15 books, and we're going to talk about some of the other items. But I want to remind you all, you can go to previewsworld.com/finalordersdue or lunardistribution.com and see all of the comics on FOC, because there's a lot of great books you're going to want to reach out to your local retailer with, so you can get the specific covers and issues you want, as always. But Kyle, do you want to dive into the first part of this top 15 a little early for everyone?
Yeah, let's do it. Mainly because if you're going to parody
The Killing Joke,
like, you might as well do it with Archie.
Absolutely. This is probably my favorite Killing Joke homage I have ever seen. And I love that we have, I can never remember Archie's superhero name, even though I've said it 5 million times this week.
Mr.
Pure
Justice.
Heart? Was it Mr. Justice? There you go, not Pure Heart.
It literally says Archie is Mr. Justice.
I mean, but that's reading, and reading's difficult.
Like, that's the title of the book. Archie is Mr. Justice.
Archie is Mr. Justice, the final issue on FOC this week. I love Matt Talbot's incredible homage variant there, doing a wonderful Brian. I mean, it looks like Brian Boland quality right there. Mm-hmm. Killing Joke.
Well, and the Federico Sabatini art inside has been fantastic as well. This has been
Blake
a fun,
Howard's been
this has been a
kicking butt.
fun Archie diversion. So
All right. In number 14, we have the first appearance of a key G.I. Joe character. Beachhead finally makes his way into the Energon universe. And I had to show off that Cale New cover. That is awesome. But every single one of the covers on this G.I. Joe issue features Beachhead in an incredibly awesome way. Now,
every time I see Beachhead or I read about Beachhead, I remember. Do you remember the VR game that used to exist in arcades where you would put the helmet on and you were a beachhead, like stopping the storming of a beach?
no.
It was a great arcade game back in the 90s and early 2000s. But every time I think about Beachhead, I have to go, okay, Beachhead the arcade game or Beachhead the G.I. Joe. It always takes me.
Started talking about this, and I'm like, oh yeah, Mario VR, where you can do bowling in virtual reality. It's crazy how we've gone from that to things like the future is.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and that's the thing, right? Is it's like these things that at the time were the future. Like it was like what we're doing right now is evidence that we are in the future, and to have a comic book that is representing that is great. But then to have things like this. Like Beachhead was kind of a futuristic character when he first hit back in the day. So now it's like not all that out of the realm of possibility.
Yeah. Now the question is, will Joshua Williamson let him survive the issue?
Ooh. If I know Josh Williamson,
zero hesitates to pull triggers.
Yeah. If I know Josh Williamson, it's not even a coin toss.
All right, next up, this one I'm excited. This is the very first time you can FOC a book from Act 4 Publishing. Act 4 is Scott Dumbier's incredible new company. It is being put out under Skybound and Image, but this is Jim Aparo's DC Classics Artist Edition, and my favorite part is with these new Artist Editions, there is a direct market exclusive. You can get this DC Classics Artist Edition through traditional sources. But if you want this cover, this incredible Jim Aparo cover, you have to go through the direct market, which means your local comic shop. And Scott Dumbier, if you've never seen his artist editions, puts these things together in an amazing way. He goes out, tracks down the original artwork, scans it in exactly as is. If there were editor notes, you get that in there. If there's whiteout doing touch-ups or things were taped or glued on, you get that. If there was a signature to whoever bought the artwork with a little note saying, thanks for your purchase, that is in this. And you get it at 1-to-1 size. These books are huge. They're the size of the original artwork at a fraction of the cost. Because Lord knows if you were to buy any of Jim's artwork these days, you're paying a pretty penny. I don't think any of that stuff would be less than a 4-figure sum. You get this entire book featuring this beautiful artwork. And Scott goes way out of his way to make sure the quality, the design, all of these books are phenomenal. I love these back when IDW was doing them. I cannot wait now that it's Scott's own company and he is not going to hold back.
Yeah. I remember Scott talking about sometimes he was a little restricted by what IDW wanted or what he was allowed to do. And now he's allowed to do whatever he wants, which is great. But guys, like we've had Jim Aparo art on Nick's show and it's always a couple of grand. And that's not Jim Aparo DC. Yeah. That's other stuff. This is the DC stuff, the stuff that is ungettable on the comic collectible or on the collectible art market. So this is a great way to get that. And if you'll allow me, Matthias, a little plug, tonight at 7:00 here on the EXP, Nick's Original Art Show, he's giving away over $2,000 in free art. Just doing $2,000 plus worth of giveaways on the show tonight. So like, again, if you're into collecting art, Nick's Art Show is a great way to get into it, but this is a great way to get into it without also then having to like sell blood or mortgage your home or something like that.
I'm sorry, your blood is not that valuable. You need to go to full-on organs to get this stuff.
Yeah, well, that's the problem. My blood isn't worth anything, so.
All right. So another trade paperback making it into our tops, which is not a regular thing, but this is Deadpool Epic Collection Volume 7. Ignore the 7. This is the Deadpool collection to get, as this is Gail Simone's infamous Agent X series. Not only are you going to get Gail Simone's Deadpool storylines, which is around issue 60 through 65, if I have it correctly remembered. You're going to get the entire Agent X series. It's practically a compendium in that respect. And this is a great era when Udon was doing the art, Gale doing magnificent writing that is probably some of my favorite Deadpool writing out there for a very affordable collected trade paperback. So
this is the Mateo Scalera stuff, right?
Yes, indeed.
Yeah. No, this is guys, this is the beginning of really when Deadpool became the Deadpool
Yes.
Back in the original Deadpool days, Deadpool was super serious and not funny. And then, Danny Way kind of added some humor. And then Gale took it and made it more rounded as a character before it became what it has become since then with Jerry Duggan and Brian Posehn and all of those guys. And, rounding the character out and making him into what we all know. This is kind of the start of that run. So super.
I gotta say Joe Kelly though, really quick, because Joe Kelly was the one that started giving him the humor. I love Joe Kelly, and we can't say Deadpool without that name.
Oh no, absolutely. But the first person to put jokes in his mouth was Danny Way, and then Joe Kelly took it, and then Gale rounded off the edges, and Deadpool is an amalgam of a bunch of different people putting it together. And if you want to go back and say, oh, I could hear this coming out of Ryan Reynolds' mouth, I would say this is the first volume that it does that. All right.
So let's get to number 11. Number 11 is the final issue in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles X Naruto. I mean, this is something I think we've been waiting for since at least the 90s. Is the idea of a big anime crossover with American comics. I always thought it was going to be something like Dragon Ball meets Superman, like you're going to have Goku battling, the Super Saiyan battling the Kryptonian. But this is an awesome one because young teenage ninjas, quite literally, of Naruto and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles combining has been a phenomenal miniseries. This is so awesome. And I hope this is not the last time we get a proper Japanese manga series crossing over with a classic American comic series. Hopefully this leads to Kodansha and other great Japanese publishers and brilliant creators like Masashi Kishimoto lending their characters to more crossovers. We've seen Junji Ito do some really...
Uh-oh, did we lose Matthias? We might have lost Matthias. Do we lose me?
So awesome and exciting one. But I think, should we go to a quick commercial break before we introduce our next guest?
Absolutely. Let's do that. And guys, remember that coming up here on The Experience tonight, we've got Nick's Original Art Show at 7. Nancy McCann is back at 9 o'clock with Friday Night Live. And then I will be here Sunday from 4 to 6 with a live sale because I showed it earlier. This will be on the show. So, you never know what you're doing
today.
So we're gonna promote that, and we will see everybody in just a minute on the other side of this quick commercial break.
So the show is called The Geek Chat, and really there's just a couple of geeks.
I'm Rich.
I'm Dez.
And we are your hosts for this weekly guide into comic bookery and all the geeky stuff that goes with it.
And that pretty much says it all. They talk about the latest movies and shows.
Okay, I'll be completely honest with you. Overall, D+ movie.
So the end. Did you know who that is?
That's She-Ra, yeah.
Yes.
The new #1 comics of the week.
We rep Samuel Jackson and we rep Mace Windu.
I passed on this. I was like...
No regrets.
No regrets. I really wanted to like this book. I really did. I really did.
And just chat with each other. And with you.
Oh, Daniel says, I dosed off with the first one. I have zero interest in the Joker Harley ship, not Harley herself. Enjoy, not for me. Yeah, this movie's going to be rough for me to sit through, I'll be honest.
The Geek Chat, Thursdays at 8 p.m. Eastern. Just a couple of honest geeks.
Let's be honest. Come on.
And that is why people watch us, because we're honest.
Giving their honest opinions.
And the thing you always have to remember about the internet is everyone has an opinion, and they all suck.
Part of the experience.
According to a statistic that I just made up, People spend 4 hours a day changing the television channel. People who watch The Experience don't do that. Save yourself a ton of time by tuning into The Experience and enjoying our new original programming 7 days a week. And then tell your friends. Think about the money they could save on batteries in the remote alone just by tuning into The Experience. Find out more by scanning the QR code below.
In a world where you hit like and subscribe on our YouTube channel,
That'd be really great. Thanks.
Welcome back to Order Up, the Final Order Cutoff show. We are about to introduce two incredible guests. It has been roughly 50 years since Marvel shook the world with giant-size X-Men, and these two men are about to bring it back in a whole new light. I want to introduce you to the hive mind themselves, Jackson Lansing and Colin Kelly.
Hey, what's up? How are you, Mathias? And hey to everybody out there in Final Order Cutoff land. Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
How's it going? Thank you very much for your time. I know, Colin, congratulations again. You're a new dad, so I imagine it's a little difficult coming in right now.
I managed the backstage room by the nip of my teeth as my precious little one. I've been telling Jackson he's in the middle of pterodactyl screaming, which is quite nice because previously he was doing Tyrannosaurus Rex screaming, which is far more dangerous.
So now he's flight ready.
Now he's flight ready, and he finds the sky to be glorious. He is no longer trying to treat us like prey.
Awesome. All right, so the two of you guys have actually two amazing books on Final Order Cutoff this Monday. The first one, though, is huge. It's, dare I say, giant size.
So tis Giant Size X-Men #1. This is kicking off a 5-issue event series that is sort of encompassing the entire history of the X-Men through these 4 seminal historical events that now each have round anniversaries this year. Which is kind of crazy, right? You mentioned 50th anniversary of Giant Size X-Men. It's also the 45th anniversary of Dark Phoenix Saga. It's the, I believe, 30th anniversary of Age of Apocalypse and the 20th anniversary of House of M, which made me feel like I was going to turn into dust because House of M was actually the book that it was the first Marvel event that dropped when Colin and I were becoming friends in college. The way we became friends was we would go to our local comic book shop together. We would get in our friend's car and we would drive to the local comic shop together. We would all get our comics because Colin and I didn't have cars. We would get our comics all together and then we would get pizza and read our comics and argue about them. And so House of M is one of the early examples of a book that formed Colin and I's sort of joint taste and identity that has become what the Hive Mind does. So getting to revisit that and getting to realize how long it's been since it came out was a pretty wild experience. And then really getting going all the way back to the 50-year anniversary of Giant Size X-Men. It's been a really incredible thing to get to look at this whole breadth of story and see how the X-Men story, how the X-Men saga has changed over each of these periods. And so to do that and to interrogate that properly and to look at that from a new perspective and with new light, we are taking the newest mutant, that being Kamala Khan, Miss Marvel, who recently went through that whole transformation from sort of an Inhuman character to now a Inhuman and mutant character. And we're giving her a look at this entire history firsthand. So it's a really exciting opportunity to take the story that we've been telling with Kamala Khan since NYX, but which also Iman Vellani and Sabra Pirzada have been telling in New Mutant and before that, and really marry it to the ongoing conversation of the X-Men, of what it's like to be an X-Men, what makes being an X-Man distinct, what makes being a mutant distinct from being anything else in the Marvel Universe, and really getting to let those things interact and smash up against each other and, wreck a little bit of history along the way.
So how is it that Kamala Khan, who is this young woman and a modern superhero, have anything to do with Giant Size X-Men, that classic 1970s story that formed the modern X-Men team?
Great question. While we can't exactly get into the hyper specifics, by now spoilers are out that one of the main motivating factors, our villain for this story, is none other than a character we affectionately call Old Man Legion. And you cannot think of Legion without thinking about his relationship to the X-Men, especially if you consider the fact that David Haller himself recently, at the end of the Krakoa era, vanished. Right, David Haller himself stepped into the White Hot Room. So the Legion is left behind. He wasn't exactly a stable character in the first place, but you can only imagine the kind of let's call it irritation that he might find. Once you have a mutant of that kind of power, well, we can't exactly get into why the Kamala Khan of it all, why she gets tangled up in it. But needless to say, it is a confluence of her relative new mutant status, perhaps even the newest mutant in the world, and a little bit of time travel shenanigans.
I think what's important to note with that, that's sort of like the in-universe aspect of this. But I think from an external perspective, and really looking at this from why Kamala, why now, why do this at all? I think a big point that we've been trying to look at since we took on this character in NYX is to consider what it means to be told late in life that you have a part of yourself or an identity or a characterization in yourself that you didn't know was there. What happens when you're embraced by community that you don't understand? And how do you interact with that community? How do you feel a part of that community? How do you not feel a part of that community? We're well aware that there is an ongoing conversation between sort of old school and new school fans about whether or not Kamala Khan belongs on the X-Men at all, whether or not she belongs in mutant communities at all. I know that this cover that you have up here right now is inherently an affront to the history of the X-Men to some people, right? That is intentional, not to make an affront, but to make a point that Kamala is one of them. Kamala is a fan. Kamala loves the X-Men and absolutely does not want to screw up X-Men history. Moreover, she doesn't necessarily, at the beginning of this story, she does not necessarily feel like she belongs there. She is not feeling very much like identifying as a mutant these days. The events of NYX 10, the final issue of that book, leave her in a really complicated place in terms of her relationship with her mutantdom. And so what we really wanted to essay in this story and what we wanted to tackle was exactly that conversation. Does Kamala belong here? Is she an X-Man? Why is she a mutant? What's the point of that? Why change this? Why make her part of this history? And in doing so, in effectively brute force inserting her into the history of the X-Men, can she stop history from changing? Can she stop herself from becoming a sort of a walking retcon, right? She's like the retcon that walks like a man. She doesn't want that. Nobody wants that. She wants to keep X-Men history the way it is. But in order to say that, she must go back into it. And so that story of being a genuine fan of the history that you are actively destroying is such an interesting to us way of attacking a story that necessitates a certain amount of oops, we retconned. Because as longtime X-Men fans, as longtime Marvel fans, and as people who aren't terribly fond of retcons, our interest in this book is about finding a way to tell an emotionally resonant, interesting story about Kamala's relationship with mutantdom, not run roughshod over mutant history as much as humanly possible.
And it is actually really interesting. Something you just said, really does resonate, because we were offered this job by Tom Brevoort, conductor of X, after he kind of saw how we were handling Kamala. I think he was really impressed by some of the stuff that we were putting together behind the scenes for the X office. And he was like, you guys are the ones to handle this. And here we are saying, well, wait a minute. You want us to do damage to all of these incredible stories? How are we going to navigate this in a way that is respectful of what has come before, but at the same time tells something new? So much like Kamala, we're trying to tiptoe through the raindrops, not destroying the thing that everybody loves, while at the same time, by necessity, the mandate is that things must go awry. So we, like Kamala, are doing our best to maintain everything that the people love, while at the same time acknowledging we got to tell a new story here.
Yeah. Now, before we dive any further into it, for anybody who's hooked already and wants to know, this storyline will cross over starting with Giant Size X-Men, released May 28th, and then have a new chapter every 2 weeks. So on June 11th, you'll have Dark Phoenix, the Giant Size Dark Phoenix saga. June 25th, you'll have the Giant Size Age of Apocalypse. July 16th, you'll have a Giant Size House of M. And then you guys wrap it all up, I believe, on July 30th with Giant Size X-Men 2.
Indeed. We are really looking to take this, we're taking this character across all of X-Men history, and then we're catching her back up with the present. So by the time you get to Giant Size X-Men 2, we're going to be back in the world that we all understand, this sort of post-Krakoan era, this From the Ashes era. And the question is going to be, how much of that has Kamala overwritten? How much of that has she destroyed? How much of that has she saved? How much of that, and how much of the relationships that she has bonded with over the course of it? And Giant Size X-Men 2, I think this is a great cover for showcasing that.
I've not seen this cover, and it really is quite an impressive cover.
So how much have the relationships that she has grown over the course of this now come back together into something that lets her feel a part of the X-Men or not? And I think that's the, I don't think it's any spoiler to say, like, her relationship with the X-Men and her relationship with Mutantdom is really going to grow and become something over the course of this story, in the same way that her relationship with her mutant power might grow and become something over the course of this story. And so I think, like, for anybody who's been following this character since issue 1, like me, this is a seminal Miss Marvel story. This is going to fundamentally, in a way that it may not fundamentally change the X-Men. I think it will, but it, I'm not going to tell you it will or it won't. That's the stakes of the show. But it is going to fundamentally change Miss Marvel. It is going to do some stuff with Miss Marvel, and it's going to take Miss Marvel to her next level as a character, and her adaptation to that, and how she adjusts to that, and what she becomes in the aftermath of that is going to be a big thing. So I think this story, while it is called Giant Size X-Men, has a really heavy, like, Miss Marvel component to it as a long-term fan who's looking to how to build that. This cover also has a really interesting sort of Easter eggy quality to it. Because if for anybody who is really looking at, like, especially how to, just in terms of, like, retailers and stuff, how to sell this book.
That's really what I also want to
like
talk about.
like how to sell this book to fans who are reading any of the From the Ashes books, because this doesn't feel initially like a sort of direct crossover. Kamala's, it's a direct crossover with NYX, but this is a book that's getting, Kamala's getting thrown back in time 50 years. But you'll see here in Giant Size, we have touchstones across the entire storyline. And in each storyline, Kamala is going to be making a sort of deep personal connection with one of the characters who's currently anchoring flagship books across the line. So Scott Summers is our Giant Size X-Men #1 framework. She already has a pre-existing relationship with him from the Champions, so this made for a really interesting, exciting way to, like, re-engage that friendship at what I think is one of Scott's most interesting moments, right? Loses his whole family, has to recruit a team, has to go save his family. It's sort of, I think Colin put it really well the other day. It's like, it's the story where he goes from being a family member to a paramilitary leader. Like, this is sort of the changeover for him.
Moment, yeah.
Rogue is our touch point for Age of Apocalypse. Age of Apocalypse Rogue is such a fascinating character. She's a mother. She's the leader of the X-Men in the aftermath of Magneto being taken. And our whole Apocalypse story takes place at like the very, 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 very end of the event. So the stakes are turned all the way up, and you really get some stuff with AOA Rogue.
When we hit a Dark Phoenix saga, obviously Jean is central to that tale. But the fun thing is, between these two characters, you have Miss Marvel and Marvel Girl, who are at this point effectively the same age. So you get to have this relationship between the two, as one of them is embracing her mutant identity and one of them is embracing the raw disaster that could actually lead to. So we found that relationship to be particularly gripping. And then in House of M, we get to see something really interesting in that, well, yes, mutant supremacy has taken over. Kitty Pryde chooses to become a teacher. Kitty Pryde chooses to, once again, kind of in the same roots that we see her in Exceptional, teach the youth. And that is something, once again, that is very resonant for Kamala as she looks around, looking at what mutantdom can be, and still seeing this person that she really appreciates and really cares about setting up in this school setting. Of course,
well, I think it's also important to note it's less about her being a teacher and more about her having a normal life. I think Kamala is really concerned with this idea of how do I become a mutant and an Inhuman and a champion and an Avenger and an X-Man and all these things and still have something of a normal life that I can come back to my parents about. And this is the one place where she can look at Kitty Pryde and go, you did it. You have it. Is it enough? Is it good? Is that what we actually want out of our heroes? And I think there's a really great sort of student-teacher dynamic between the two of them.
And of course, House of M isn't anything without the decimation that follows. Yeah. If anyone of a certain age knows exactly how painful that journey was, and if you think that we're not going to try and turn the screws on our beloved Kamala Khan, you do not know us as creators.
And then obviously Wolverine's there because Wolverine was her first X-Men friend anyway. Wolverine and her have been friends since they went into that sewer, like back in like Miss Marvel, 6? Like they've been friends forever. So I think there's a really great. It was an exciting opportunity to just sort of bring back one of my favorite weird relationships in the Marvel canon. Because who are better unlikely friends than Miss Marvel and Logan?
But I do want to circle back around something where you kind of started this, Mathias, which is that for retailers, this is not House of M or this is not Giant Size 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which does kind of drive me crazy. So we want to make sure that folks understand that even though this will be Giant Size Age of Apocalypse 1, that is also to a certain degree Giant Size 3. Right. So it's a little confusing. I hope that retailers don't get too tangled up in it. I hope that people who are reading Giant Size 1 aren't then like, oh, wow, 2 doesn't come out for 3 months. I don't understand. So it's going to be a little bit of hand holding from retailer to consumer. But we think it's going to be really worth it. And the full story, while each of those individuals will pop, if you're like, oh, hell yeah, a return to Age of Apocalypse, you're going to fucking love it. It's going to be great. But obviously consuming the whole narrative is going to give you the juiciest experience. And that will require a little kind of galaxy brain.
Yeah, these are not 5 discrete one-shots. While they have distinct artists, Adam Kubert on Dark Phoenix, Adam Kubert on Giant Size, Rod Reese on Dark Phoenix, CF Villa on Age of Apocalypse, and Francesca Manna on House of M. And then we have Adam returning on Giant Size number 2. These are very much a single story. You can pick any of them up discreetly. You can give Dark Phoenix 1 to a fan of Dark Phoenix, and they will be able to catch up. Like there's enough there for them to find their way. But the optimal reading experience for this book, especially because of how much of a specific story it is for Kamala and for Old Man Legion and for the Legacy of the X-Men, is for all 5 of them to be sort of read as a piece. And then I think they're really interesting because that 5 piece, that sort of 5-issue piece, sits really nicely between NYX 10, which kind of closes a certain chapter in Kamala's life and opens this one, as well as Hellfire Vigil, which just got announced, which comes directly out of this, and I think has some echoes for this out of how we leave things at the end of Giant Size 2.
Yeah, and I wanted to point out though, for those who are looking, we've stated all. It goes Giant Size X-Men, Giant Size Dark Phoenix Saga, Giant Size Age of Apocalypse, Giant Size House of M, and Giant Size X-Men 2. But if you, the consumer, are past watching this and you need to remind yourself, The Marvel comics that are currently on stands as of this week, you can check inside, have an ad with an organized list of exactly all of those books you need to read. I've already had a customer reach out to me with a photo saying, this is what I want. Kyle might have that exact photo. But if you're a consumer, grab any Marvel book that came out starting at the end of April, and you should be able to find that full-page in-house ad with a list of these books to go up to your retailer and say, I want all of these.
Perfect. And it should be mentioned also that each of these also contains a bitchin' backup story that honestly we are as excited to read as everyone else that will be tying into kind of future X-Men events. So this is really, if you're loving the X-Men line right now, or even if you've kind of drifted away and want a place to kind of jump back into, maybe kind of think of it as year 2 of the Front of the Ashes era, this is a great way to get people back into it, to get excited for what's to come.
Yeah, there we go. There is the lineup interior page. So you grab a Marvel comic that hits stands this week or later, and you will see all of that with release dates and a pitch. But the really cool thing is, if you want to dive into this early, go to your local comic shop on Saturday, May 3rd, the first Saturday of May, which is infamously Free Comic Book Day. And you can grab the Free Comic Book Day that looks like it's Fantastic Four, but it also features a giant-size X-Men prelude story that gets you all set up for the main event coming out May 28th. And it's free at your local comic shop the first Saturday of May.
I love that. I love that story. It's sort of our like ode to Cyclops. This was when we were talking about our we think it's a really interesting moment in Cyclops' history. This Free Comic Book Day story is all about his because like, double it back for a second. For anybody who has read Giant Size X-Men #1, there's a sort of seminal moment where the whole team assembles in the middle of the mansion, and they all have their outfits, and they're all admiring these Reed Richards built X-Men uniforms that Charles has gotten for all of them. And then Charles rolls in and is like, I'm glad you all answer my summons. There's a very important mission. I'm going to let this guy explain it. This is Scott Summers, the man called Cyclops. And Scott Summers rolls in and is just like, here's the details. Let's go, kids. And like does his whole thing. But what we posit is that there is a moment, but sort of by nature of Kamala's intervention into history, that there is a new moment that happens before that, where Scott, not as Scott, but as Cyclops, meets all of the X-Men on the field of battle outside the mansion and tests their mettle for the first time. So she basically shows this group of newbies that no matter their powers, no matter the training they think they have, no matter the ability they think they have, they are not a family and they are not a team. And Scott is used to operating with both. And so he can roll in and effectively like say it's Scott Summers versus the X-Men, which is just such a great starting point to bring this character in as somebody who is usually so much the center and the sort of like fundamental rock of the team, to have him come in and start trying to disassemble them from the start, almost to prove that they aren't ready, felt really fun to us. And so I think, for anybody who is just getting into the X-Men through X-Men 97, for instance, or through like other media, I think this story is a really nice framework that takes a lot of that stuff that you understand and gives you some straight punch down the middle, great X-Men action time.
That story, to kind of lead you on our perspective, is called The General. And I just want to point out it does fit rightly in there, because while Xavier does say, the man, Scott Summers, who is Cyclops, or something along those lines, in our story, he never refers to him as himself as Scott Summers. So it is still a reveal that works within continuity when Xavier introduces him as Scott Summers. I just want to those are the little things that were constantly, I think our artists were driven crazy by the amount of specific panels that we pulled and like lines from, Len Wein or Claremont that were like touched on in ways that were like, this is the line in the background, to make sure that continuity is there in every way we possibly can make it.
Yeah, I love it. Honestly, I've always been a Scott fan, but I'm going to say the bold statement here. It is probably the most empowering Cyclops moment in X-Men comics to date. It is the reminder of why this man deserves to lead the X-Men. You guys nailed it.
Hell yeah. Thanks, man. Appreciate that.
You get it for free.
Appreciate that.
like, obviously we love everything that Jed does. We worked with him a whole bunch. We absolutely love him, but we may be just circling Cyclops like sharks, right? Like, the fact that there's not a Cyclops ongoing book is a real crime, and I don't want to fuck with Jed's shit in the least, but if our boy had an opportunity, we would absolutely. I saw there was a question that popped up. What solo ongoing book would you do? It's like, man, my guy, it's Cyclops.
Yeah, we'd do Cyclops. We'd do Cyclops in a heartbeat. I think that would be a joy. I think for fans of our Captain America run, I think that gives you a relatively good indication of how we would treat Scott. Like Scott is Cap if Cap had panic attacks. Like I always think about like Scott is Cap if he had to learn how to do it from the start, right? It's like a kid who has none of that Steve Rogers in him. Except he it's all like really buried under trauma and fear and expectation and all this stuff. Yeah, but then he had to like
his Cap was a bald old manipulator who did not fuck with
yeah, he had to train the whole way to do it. No super soldier serum, just funky little glasses. No, I think I really we would love to get our hands on the character someday. He's a genuine favorite for us from way back when. I can't wait to see James Marsden come back. I'm so psyched. Can't believe it was like a holiday in the Lansing Kelly offices that day when we learned that James Marsden was coming back at Cyclops. I was like, let's go, man. I can't wait.
We have completely derailed this conversation.
Yeah, too bad. I just love Cyclops. This is a Cyclops podcast now.
There it is, yeah. No, so this is amazing. I think everyone is excited. Please reach out to your local comic shop. Let them know you want this book by Monday, because I know everyone after Free Comic Book Day is saying, I need this. I need this specific book. So get ahead of it. Make sure that your comic shop has ordered enough and has a copy set aside for you, especially with all the great covers that we were able to see. You can let your shop know which cover you want. But those aren't the only good covers, because one of your other books made it into our top 10, and I'm not going to say which cover it was, but Star Trek 32, which is part of your big Lore War crossover, is on FOC this Monday as well.
The end of Lore War, and the second to last issue of the entire Star Trek line. Star Trek and Star Trek Defiant are both just about to close out. This is the last issue. I can't wait for people to see this. This and Omega now I've read. I've seen them fully completed. They are, there's Omega. Man, that Malachi Ward, he really can draw a cover, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, what an artist. We've just been so blessed to work with him for the last few years on this series. It's a real joy. It'll never bug me. It'll never not bug me that we didn't get him to do a single interior page, because he is such a good interior artist. But he's very in demand. What are you going to do? Yeah. But yeah, we've been telling stories in this Star Trek line now for like 3 years. Just on this line alone, we were doing Star Trek Year 5 for the 2 years before that. So now we're almost 6 years into a Star Trek run effectively, and all of it is kind of connected in its own way, on top of Chris Cantwell's run on Defiant, and it's all coming to a head here. So not a great jumping on point probably, but a really great place for people for Star Trek fans to see where all of this stuff is landing and come back together. And I think Lore War is worth everyone's time. I just think it's a really wild, crazy event. I don't think anybody's ever done anything like it with Star Trek. And we've just had such a blast working with Davida Tinto and putting together this whole thing. And it's all closing out.
As folks can kind of see, and also hey, I'm talking to you retailers. There's one thing that we have really learned, and that the cross section between Star Trek fans and comic fans is a shockingly thin intersection. But for the people who are there, you have people in your shops who do not know there is a Star Trek comic out there. And I will tell you, we have yet to meet someone who is a Star Trek fan who picks up this book and doesn't immediately say, holy shit, this is the Star Trek I've been waiting for my entire life. We are 32 issues in. The series was nominated for an Eisner. Pray to God that we get another Eisner nomination. I'm looking at you, Eisner Committee.
We're judging this weekend.
Let's go, baby.
And it's just, we could not be more proud of this. It's our absolute, it's our love child.
It's a weird thing because it's the only, it's an IP book. It's a licensed book. We don't get royalties. It's not one of those things where we're like getting super rich off of this, but it is a book we sought out. It's one of the very few books in our lives where we have gone, it's this and Kang the Conqueror are like the two books where we were like, hey, give it to us. Give it. That like we were that Paul Rudd meme. Like, it was just us being like, please, like, we trust us. If you let us cook here, we have something to say and we have something to do and we know how to speak to the fan base and we know how to tell new stories. And I think Star Trek has had a long history of really interesting comics work. Friends with Mike Johnson, who's written the most Star Trek comics of all time, and is an excellent writer who really drew a lot of great stuff between the JJ verse and the originals. Countdown is a seminal comic, right? Like, it's not to say there haven't been great Star Trek comics. There absolutely have. But the opportunity that we were given under Heather Antos and that we really embraced here to take all of Star Trek, right? To take sure, we are going to use everything from Next Gen and DS9 and Voyager and original series, but we're also going to take from Lower Decks and Discovery and Strange New Worlds and Prodigy. We're going to work with those writing teams. We're going to take the stuff from Picard that's useful. We're going to move all of that into the comics so it all feels like one big, happy family. And then, as we got later into the line, we were able to do stuff like, all right, let's bring in Star Trek 09. Let's bring in the JJ verse. Let's see how that functions within our context. Let's bring in stranger artists who normally wouldn't get to do licensed books. And let's see what it looks like when Tess Fowler watercolor paints 2 issues of Star Trek, right? Like, this whole book has been this ongoing experiment in how far can we push comics in the Star Trek form, right? Like, how much can we take Star Trek and then use it to make comics feel different? How do we reinvent the way data pages look? How do we rethink the way that story is told from moment to moment? Can we do entire arcs that are single issues and then decompress it for 6 issues with Marcus Toe, right? We're constantly playing around with form and function. We've done 2 crossover events. I just think it's a really great example of what you can do in licensed comics when the license and the publisher let you cook, and when the artists and writers and editors are aligned to do something truly different. And I'm just so thankful that readers have stuck around and that IDW stuck around and that Heather Antos kept us around to finish this thing off in the way that we always want to do. It's wild. It's exactly what we pitched. Like, this, we told the whole story and finished it, which you almost never get to do in comics anymore. So that's a really beautiful. I'm really proud of this, not just because Star Trek, is a great book that we love, but because it actually is ending. It's actually ending where we actually wanted it to end. It's not like we're like cleaning up after a cancellation. It's really nice.
And
sorry.
No, go ahead.
But here's a big one. As you pointed out, not enough people are reading this book, and you're getting the proper ending you want. So for anyone who hasn't dove into this amazing epic, the trade paperbacks are out there. Whether they're in your local comic shop or not, you can go ask your local comic shop. I want IDW's Star Trek series by Jackson Lansing and Colin Kelly, as well as Defiant and all those great one-shots. They are collected. So can you give us a quick pitch for those who have not read these incredible 32 issues and various crossovers? What is the quick pitch that makes the Star Trek fan need to go to their local comic shop and place an order?
This is the first volume. This is Star Trek Godshock. It is the canonical return of Benjamin Sisko from the wormhole after the end of Deep Space Nine. He assembles a crew of characters from across the Star Trek canon, from Data at First Officer to Beverly Crusher in Medical Bay to Tom Paris at the helm to the great-great-great-great-great-great-granddaughter of Hoshi Sato from Enterprise at Communications, as well as new characters, Shax from Lower Decks at Tactical, all kinds of people. In order to go on a new mission from the prophets to figure out who is killing off God-level species. That mystery of who is going after the sort of like highest powered species in the Star Trek universe and doing real damage to them unravels 3 years of like universe-shattering storytelling that digs into the nature of divinity, that digs into the nature of Starfleet, that digs into the character of all of these, like, everybody gets a great character arc over the course of it. This is everything from Cisco's return to Beverly Crusher's Cisco's return, Beverly Crusher's sort of heel turn that heads her into Picard, where she realizes maybe she doesn't trust all of this quite so well, and Montgomery Scott's final ride as engineer on a starship. Right, this is a seminal moment for a lot of different characters, and then simultaneous to it, right? So you have Godshock, Red Path, which is Volume 2, and then an event, Day of Blood, which brings together this book and a second book called Star Trek Defiant, which is run by Chris Cantwell and drawn by Angel Unzueta, which is the sort of dirty dozen for Star Trek. It's Worf and B'Elanna Torres and Lore and a whole like Old Man Spock, all on a stolen ship, the USS Defiant from DS9, going out there and basically trying to do the same mission as Cisco, but their own way. They're at odds in terms of how they're going to achieve this mission. And so when they come together in Day of Blood, it's not just a like, hey, how are we all going to work together and kumbaya and high five? It's actually a really like conflict-driven story about two captains and two crews and one mission that needs to be achieved in one way. And so I think that's a really that's a good pitch on like sort of the first year. What spins out of this is lots of comics, lots of cool Star Trek, but that's where it all starts.
All right. So, Colin, you want to give me the quick lore war pitch so people can catch up on this new series with the final issue on FOC this Monday, April 28th?
Oh, Lordy. Yeah, let's go ahead and
Lordy.
Let's see, without for those, not to spoil things for those who haven't read it, but at the same time to say it in the briefest of way possibles, if there's one thing we know about Lore, it is that he is a megalomaniacal super genius. And when he gains the ability to fundamentally rewrite the universe, he will not only detonate everything that we know, but he will craft a world to his own devising. This is Secret Wars for the Star Trek universe, as Lore affixes himself as the fundamental God Emperor of the cosmos. And the story of how Benjamin Sisko utilizes those powers of the prophets, which only now he is truly understanding, in order to awaken the people he needs to fundamentally set this universe back to rights. Not all will survive. Not all will make it through. We are going to gut you emotionally and tell the best damn Star Trek story we possibly can.
Love it. I cannot wait for this ending. I know, obviously, I'm definitely ordering my copy of 32, and I hope a lot of you guys watching will be reaching out to your local comic shop and either adding that to your list or going back and grabbing the trades. But on the note of trades, there's two other things I want to point out. You guys have had some great trades recently on the more indie end, with the recent Principles of Necromancy that came out last year. And then one of my favorite stories you guys did with the incredible Marcus Toe, Joyride, recently released as a compendium omnibus edition from Boom Studios. Do you want to talk a little bit about this?
We're so happy about that. Joyride was our very first creator-owned book. It was a book that we really gave ourselves to early on in our career, co-created with Marcus Toe based on an idea that he had like in high school, which basically boiled down to some teenagers steal a spaceship. And we just loved that initial premise. We called it punk rock teenage Star Trek because we figured no one would ever let us write Star Trek. So this is where we were going to really like get to do that, fully. It is the story of three kids from a future Earth that totally sucks, who steal a spaceship and run away and try to never come back. As a metaphor, it's the story of, grabbing your friend's truck and driving out to the next town over when your parents don't know, right? But with the, it turned up to 11. This is the crazy science fiction version of that story. For fans of things like Star Trek Prodigy or Star Wars Skeleton Crew, those shows both like riffed very, very hard on Joyride. I'm not saying that they ever read Joyride, but it is shocking how many similarities exist between those shows and our stories. And I think it would be wild to look. I think fans can look back at this book that came out in 2016 now. So, this book is almost 10 years old. And I think they'll see that it's Yep, and that killed Colin. But in revisiting it recently, it's as fresh as it ever was. I'm so proud of this book. I think Marcus did some of the work of the best work of his career on this. The colors are by Irma Knivila, who's an incredible colorist, and I just think it's a really beautiful piece of work. And now it's in this compendium edition with all 12 issues. It's the whole story. It's beautifully printed. It's beautifully put together. It even has our old. We made playlists for the book that actually printed in the book when it came out, because music is very important both to Uma and to the book itself. And so you'll see legitimately in Joyride, you'll see a QR code that'll bring you to a Spotify playlist that'll run you down the whole soundtrack of this book, which is normally an important place where I have to point out that we also came out before Guardians of the Galaxy 1. So we were unaware of James Gunn's whole vibe until that came out, and we were like, oh, yeah, we're thinking the same way, bud.
Yeah.
Wow.
We predated a lot of the tasty flavors that we've kind of seen in pop culture media over the past few years. But what I will say is the reason these kids have to leave Earth is because they look around and they find that it's devolved into an absolute fascist dystopia where everyone looks around and says, this is fine. This is good. We accept this as our universe, as our life, as our world. And they, with looking at that world and saying, like, we do not know how to change this. This is so fundamentally flawed and broken. The only thing we can do is run away. I think people will find that even though it is a decade old, it will resonate now just as savagely, if not more. It's a very fast book. It's a very fun book. It's a very sexy book. It's a very gay book. And I know that it will be able to find the right audience in your shops. And if you're just hungry for it, go fucking hunt it down, man. It's so fucking cool and weird.
Yeah, we're really proud of that book.
Only came out a month ago to get the new collected edition for just $20, a ridiculous deal for 12 plus issues. Reach out to your local comic shop if they don't already have Joyride. Joyride is available from Boom Studios now through Penguin Random House distribution as well as Diamond.
And to give our principles of necromancy its due, that is our effectively 10 years later, our next creator own that we were able to do. It could not be more different than Joyride in the least. It is the exploration and study of a twisted man named Dr. Jacob Eyes. In a fantasy world without any magic, doctors are considered the wizards. You do not cross them because they are just as likely to help you as destroy you. He is out here not just to cure sickness, but to cure death itself. He is writing the principles of necromancy. The art is by newcomer Eamon Winkle, who we found on the internet and who had never done sequentials before, but he said, guys, trust me, I can do it. He absolutely crushed it, was nominated for the Russ Manning Award last year. He puts the gore in gorgeous. It is a disgusting book, but at the same time has a core human story. It is not about grossing you out. It is about, once again, breaking your heart. And we were really incredibly proud of it. It's 4 issues that stand alone and yet still tell a cogent story that you're going to really enjoy. And it's going to go for your guts, literally.
I love it. So reminding you all, you can reach out to your local comic shop and request the trade paperbacks for Principles of Necromancy, Joyride. Get your orders in before this Monday, April 28th on Star Trek 32 and the giant size X-Men #1, and make sure you go to your local comic shop on Saturday, May 3rd. I remember what my days are. Saturday, May 3rd to grab the free comic book day from Marvel Fantastic Four that has that awesome giant size X-Men prelude story by Jackson and Colin.
Oh, yeah. And we also have Thunderbolt's Doomstrike, which is out there in the universe as well. If you're wondering what's happening to the insurgent rebels of the One World Under Doom universe, Thunderbolts are out there absolutely kicking ass and taking names as our new Thunderbolts clash head-to-head with the classic Thunderbolts. So for the classic heads who want to see what's up with Citizen V and Atlas, hey, baby, they're there. And at the same time, we're going to kick Doom in the teeth.
Yeah, I love it. And perfectly timed with the movie coming out next week.
That's so interesting.
Huh. How about that?
All right, guys. So before we let you go, everyone I'm sure at this point is hooked and needs more of the Hive Mind. Where can they track you down online?
So socially, we're very easy to find at HiveMind Actual. That's one word, HiveMind Actual. You'll be able to find that on any social platform. So go ahead and find us there. We post sort of regularly there. We have personal accounts too, but we're using them less and less and less, if we're being honest. So probably the best place to do it is just to find us there and come and check us out at a con. I'm going to be at Fan Expo Philly in just a couple of weeks. So I hope to see anybody who's listening from the Philadelphia area come by, say hi. We'll talk about comics. I'm looking forward to it.
And we'll be there at San Diego, so come by, give us high fives.
Yeah, we have a big. So our as I said, we're ending our Star Trek run, but we have been pretty open.
Just for you.
Yeah, but we've been pretty open about the fact that we are not done with Star Trek. They've announced a series of books that are coming in the aftermath of the current line. Chris Cantwell is doing Star Trek Red Shirts with Megan Levins. There's going to be a Voyager book. There's going to be a Strange New Worlds book. But we have something that has not yet been announced that is a fully original Star Trek project that we'll be announcing right at San Diego. And we're really going to be making quite a stink about it at San Diego. I am so excited for this book. It's crazy. Heather is already referring to it in emails as her favorite book of the year. I think we've got something really special going on with this, and I can't wait for people to see what we're putting together, because even I can't quite believe that we're getting to do it. It's a blast.
If you've ever wondered what it would look like if HBO was who produced Star Trek,
it's kind of our goal here.
Yeah.
All right.
So yeah, looking forward to being able to show that off at San Diego. So come by and say hi.
Yeah, and maybe when it comes back to FOC, we can convince you guys back.
We're an easy sell, man. We love hanging out with you, Mathias. Anytime, man.
All right. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Don't forget to get those orders in. We're going to let these guys go so they can get back. Obviously there's a young pterodactyl waiting to evolve into his next dinosaur. So thank you guys both, and we'll get those orders in. All right. Now, before we cut to the top 10, which we're getting to, Kyle, there's so many great books on FOC this week. Do you think we could spotlight just a handful of them?
We have 5 minutes.
5 minutes. 5 minutes to knock it all out?
5 minutes to knock it all out.
All right. Let's do a quick share screen on this. Some big ones. 11 by 17, Deadly Class, giant size artist proof. You're getting it the size of the original artwork from Image. Battle Beast #2. This is important to let your local retailer know if you want, because this is FOCing before issue #1. But it's invincible. It's huge. It's Battle Beast, the greatest warrior in comics. So let them know you want this.
And #1 went wild, by the way, on Battle Beast.
Yeah, I cannot wait for that to be in the hands. Daredevil Cold Day in Hell, another one that went crazy on the first issue. Second printing already, looking like it's sold out, with the third printing on the way before the second printing hits. You do not want to miss it out on issue #2 of Old Man Matthew Murdoch by Charles Soule. Predator versus Spider-Man #2. Man, #1 was insane. It looks like it's only getting crazier with #2. This new Predator is vicious.
Get me pictures of the Predator.
I have to point out this Ultimate Spider-Man #17. Well, it didn't make it into our top 15 list. This is a powerhouse cover that Starbucks should really be requesting as a new advertising point. What if Donald Duck became Iron Man? Steve Belling is bringing us this awesome one-shot of Disney Marvel crossover craziness. I got to show off. We'll talk about this one more a little bit later. Ooh. Adventure Time #1 getting re-released as a deluxe edition. This has a new James Stokoe cover that has me super excited, but it also has extra content, including stickers. So if you missed out on Adventure Time #1, or you just want a bigger, better version with a thicker cardstock cover, that's the way to go. We have Be Not Afraid, which is a dark, twisted tale about a young woman who is asked by God to kill her firstborn child that is far too powerful for this earth. Dark and twisted and very interesting, coming from Boom on FOC this Monday.
Real fast. Did you already close it?
Nope, I got it.
Jude Ellen S. Doyle is a great horror writer. Very excited for this book. Think Baby Teeth. Think Exorcism of 1610. Think those kind of a little off kilter horror that you've read. This is what this is going to be. Very excited for this book.
Awesome. Then I just had to show it off. Power Rangers Prime #7, that incredible Jessica Fong cover. with Rita Repulsa is amazing. Finally, before we get to the top 10, one of my favorite books currently coming out from American Mythology Productions is Return of the Living Dead, one of the classic zombie movies and perhaps the best punk rock dead revival. This cover number 4 by Paul Maitland, phenomenal. Just absolutely amazing. It depicts some of my favorite mental images from that classic movie. I cannot wait to wrap this comic up. It is awesome. But we need to wrap this show up. So I think it's time we cut to the top 10.
Yeah. That hand's a little suggestive. I'm just going to warn everybody.
I mean, it's a Walking Dead thing.
It is.
Yeah. All right. In spot number 10, the B cover to Star Trek 32. You got to love this haunting and just brilliant piece. I know this is an homage to something, and it's escaping me what this is an homage
to. An X-Men book.
Oh, is it really? Am I that bad? Oh, well, it's not shocking that the men writing giant-size X-Men get a nice little X-Men homage on Star Trek. The final part of Lore War. Definitely a big one. Then we have Mega Man Timelines. This is a series of one-shots that each focus on Mega Man in different times, basically from different video games, done by the incomparable Tavis Maiden. This is going to be a very, very fun one. I've already read it. I think you'll love it. It's Udon just kicking butt. Then Heat Seeker Exposed. This is the newest Gun Honey spinoff, a new Heat Seeker miniseries. But the reason why we want to really talk about this is the unique blind bags that Brow are doing. Brow has done a ton of amazing artwork that have made it so with a randomized generator printing machine, every single cover you get from these blind bags is unique. They'll have variations in what clothes Heat Seeker is wearing, what weapons, what tattoos, what hairstyle, etc. But the fun thing I love about these bags is every time you open something, you're seeing a unique cover. I personally love opening up these with my customers as we realize, oh, I love that part of this cover. Oh, I like that part. And it always leads me to end up buying extra bags so I can open it. It's like trading cards on comic covers. I mean, tell me that's not to love.
Well, and again, it's the art style of this cover, right? Like these are incredibly hot covers. They're going to be incredibly well done. And this is going to be a killer mystery. Like Heat Seeker's just such a good mystery story every time that to pair it with random, sexy, interesting covers in a bunch of different ways will certainly make this a must grab book for anybody who's into the true crime stuff that Titan is doing.
Actually, could you really quickly show? Yeah, there we go. Share my screen. So this is some of the variations of an example of what you can get in those blind bags. These variations of covers like this, where they're all going to have subtle developmental differences that make it a 100% unique cover when you combine all these pieces that Brow put together. So every single cover, unique, all sorts of variations. You get to have a one-of-a-kind cover that only you own, even though it's still going to have that wonderful similar theme that just screams Heat Seeker. So worth checking out, maybe worth grabbing a few. Definitely let your local shop know, especially if you want more than one copy and you want to try your luck and see which covers you can get. All right. Now, EC's Epitaphs from the Abyss, number 11. I want to point out really quickly that this had some last-minute cover creator changes. So I thankfully just got a text message from Michael Torma over at Oni to tell you. You get Pruning Lessons by Greg Pak and Dan McDade. You have Ill Temperance by Jay Stevens and David Rubin. And the one I'm most excited about in this, She Consorted with Devils by writer Stephanie Phillips and artist Christopher Mitten. And I mean, look at that incredible Liber Mayho cover. This might be the most amazing looking Epitaphs from the Abyss issue of the run. Well, it's the penultimate issue. This is the one I'm most excited about. Then Spider-Girl gets a brand new series. Look at that stunning Peach Momoko cover. But I am beyond excited to get Spider-Girl back. I mean, if you've been reading her in the Spider-Boy comic, she is an amazing new character. And I really think that Torrin Groenbeck is going to do great with this. You have Andre Risso doing interior artwork. This is going to be a fun new launch for this character. Darkstalkers X Street Fighter. talking about incredible crossovers, this is one we're always demanding for you hardcore Capcom and video game fans. Darkstalkers Street Fighters crosses over the start of an event. This is a one-shot, but it is the start of the Lords of the Makai. Beautiful Brett Bean cover. You remember Brett Bean from I Hate Fairyland, that epic run that just finished. He's currently this weekend up at Calgary's Fan Expo signing, but I am loving this. Tim Seeley plotted it. You have the incredible Marshall Dillon writing it. Having already read through this is a brilliant book. It is absolute fan art filled, super crazy, insanely awesome interiors. If you are a fan of either property, you will love this.
Is this Alberto Albuquerque interiors?
Yes, it is.
So there you go. You know that the interiors are going to be really well done.
Yeah, Rodrigo Avila is on colors, and I love you get Marshall Dillon not only writing it but literally lettering it too. So director of operations for Udon, just going crazy. Oh, the death of Silver Surfer, like. That could not be more haunting, but also it could not be more appropriate because Marvel knows what to do when they have a movie coming out. They kill their main character. Of course, Silver Surfer is in the new Fantastic Four movie, so we're going to kill him off. But I expect it will be in an absolutely epic way in this new miniseries by Greg Pak and Sumit Kumar. Look at that stunning Dike Ruan cover. Beautiful. Then, The Curse of Shirley Johnson. If you're a longtime Spawn fan, you likely remember this horrifying moment in Spawn issue number 5. We're getting a new storyline, a new miniseries focusing on Shirley Johnson. Beautifully haunting Todd McFarlane B cover there that I think is a must-have. But this has me truly excited. Whether you're a Spawn fan or not, this is going to be a haunting and trippy piece of horror. Then Superman Unlimited. Dan Slott back at the DC Universe launching a brand new Superman title. This is supposed to be the perfect jumping on point Superman book. So if you're fresh from the brand new movie this summer and you want to read Superman, this is the way to go. You've never read Superman before, but you want to give the Kryptonian a try, this is the place to go. You're a longtime Superman fan and you're enjoying Joshua Williamson's incredible Superman. You're loving Action Comics, but you want a pull away from the heavy all-in storylines. Well, this is still in continuity. This is much more standalone, and it is a great bit because Dan Slott is throwing some hard challenges towards Clark Kent and Superman in a trippy way that is going to make him really earn his place. I love that because we have the movie, Dan Mora did this cameo variant with James Gunn. There's also a great Jim Lee cover that is a movie homage with Clark and Krypto. But no matter what, this is a surprisingly great book. I got to read it the other night. It is absolutely amazing, and the twist at the end is going to suck you in. So definitely get your Superman Unlimited orders in. You're going to want this going into or coming out of the Superman movie this summer. Finally, this was a last-minute edition, reminding you all that Final Order Cutoff can change up until Friday mornings. This cover didn't exist last night, at least not in any public way. But this is the FOC variant, the W cover. Yes, the W cover of Vampirella number 2, aka 677 by Mark Spears. Now, it's homaging a classic Amazing Spider-Man piece by J. Scott Campbell, Amazing Spider-Man 601. And I got to say, Mark knocked it out of the park. Like, where are your thoughts on this beautiful cover?
Mom always said, if you can't say something nice, don't say something at all. I much prefer the original J. Scott cover, but again, I'm not attracted to Vampirella like I was to Mary Jane. So, this is a great cover. Mark does great covers, and this really does lend itself to Vampirella. If I were buying this, I would be buying. There is a foil that looks incredible.
Yes, there is.
That would be my take on this book. I might jump on that one just because I think it adds a lot to the piece of art as it is.
Yeah, I will say I was never expecting an ASM 601 homage as a regular cover, not like a retailer exclusive or special convention exclusive, but a regular cover on a book, especially like Vampirella. So this was quite the treat to see this morning. I love it. But we got to get to the big one. What is the final number one choice? It's The Future Is, that incredible Jay Lee cover depicting all of our protagonists of Black Mountain, this wonderful A-Team Ocean's 11 group. You have on there Wheeler, Sally, Eli, Art and Arf, as well as Martina. This is just a great cover, stunning, beautiful Jay Lee work. And I want to remind everyone, this book is brilliant. This book is a full 112 pages for $13.37. It is a thick trade paperback size first issue filled with amazing stories and games. Whether you want to play the CTF games or not, they're fun. And again, you know, I'm no hacker, but it's teaching me a little bit, and I'm having a lot of fun with it. It's a great book.
Yeah, I'm gonna throw my hat on this one too. This is definitely the number one for me. This is a great future. This is a great book with a really good backstory back end to it. Because I'm working with these, I'm paying attention to this book because I'm working with this company. I was able to actually have a conversation about cybersecurity with my grandparents as they saw a story in the news and got confused. They got scared, that kind of stuff. So this book has real life potential to really help you, and also to entertain you. So like, understand that this works on a lot of levels.
Yeah.
And I do want to say real quick, I made a joke about this cover, by the way. I do want to say this is just a tribute to how much the people at Dynamite love art.
Yeah.
And love covers and love, you know, the idea of art should live on in different forms. So again, I really do like this cover, but this one isn't for me. The foil is where I would go.
Yeah. All right. One thing I do have to point out, though, also on The Future is this is something important that I feel we only touched on in the interview. This comic takes place in a dark future. A dark future I fear and hope to God we don't reach. But the thing that makes this so amazing is, well, this is an absolutely dark future of technology-driven bad decision-making where we need heroes like Wheeler and his team. The thing that I love about it is that you end each issue happy. It ends positive. It ends with the heroes, at least in this first issue, winning. And it gives you hope that even in a dark future, with the right tools, we can succeed. So that is probably my favorite walk away from The Future is that, look, we got dark roads ahead, but with the proper training and the proper skills and the right attitude, you can walk out of it successfully. And I love that I can read a dark, crazy sci-fi book that I love for all of its dark, crazy sci-fi, but not walk away needing like a 30-minute rest break of like, oh, that was too dark. You walk away excited and you end up playing the CTF game because you enjoyed it so much. So
absolutely. Again, like I wouldn't wear the hoodie if I didn't like the book.
Yeah. So absolutely amazing one. What else do we have on the EXP tonight?
Well, before we get into what else is happening, I want to give a shout out to Greg Hopkins from Boom Studios over in the comments, as well as Marshall Dillon. What's up, fellas? Thank you for being here. Really appreciate you guys watching the show, and keep putting out great stuff, and we will keep giving it glowing reviews. Just throwing that one out there. Just, you know, tell your bosses. Also to Eddie and Bronze Age Nerd and Lorena and everybody who showed up for the interviews today. Thank you so much for being here tonight at 7:00 here on the EXP. Nick from Dynamite is doing his original art show. He's giving away over $2,000 in original art pages. Over $2,000. He's doing a little bit of celebrating. This is a milestone show for him. But he is giving away a bunch of art, including some original sketch covers from top level creators, as well as original pages from books, including one that I'm desperately trying to buy off of him before he goes live. And then at 9:00, Nancy McCann will be here for Friday Night Live from Comics Unlimited. Nancy, again, has been a retailer for over 40 years. Nancy knows everybody. Like, Nancy has stories about like Stan Lee and Jim Lee coming into her shop as like a nobody, like things that she knows everybody. She has killer product, great show, great stories. Then I will be back Sunday 4 to 6 with a live sale. Monday, Comic Collectibles with Dynamic Forces. And then Bronze Age Nerd will be here Monday night talking about Canadian whites, which is what happened last time tariffs affected comics. And then Tuesday, we'll have Minute to Skim It, which is our review show with Jen, Shanice, and maybe me. It's going to depend on a few factors, but I may be here Tuesday. And then Welcome to Wonderland with Rich Davis and Wonderland Comics. And then Kicking It with Henri Compen, independent creator and comic dealer. Wednesday, Comic Collectibles with Rex will be back. And Jay and I will be here with Kyle and Jay's Q&A, where we answer all of your comic questions. I do believe we are going to be doing a Thunderbolts look ahead. And then Thursday, What's in the Box with Miss Jen. She's going to be doing half off keys and collectible books. Geek Chat is off this week, so I think I will be filling in that slot with another live sale. And then Mel and Mog will be back from Canada, and they will have great artists drawing live on their show. Then Mathias and I will be back with next week's FOC.
I love it. There's going to be some fun stuff on next week FOC, and hopefully a great guest. I don't even know who it is yet.
Yeah, we got to figure that one out, homie.
Yeah. So first, I got to go say hi to Mel and Mog over at Calgary Fan Expo, where they are. If you are out here in Calgary, Canada, you can go say hi to them before their show next week.
Yes, absolutely. So, with all that being said, I want to thank everybody for being here. Thank you, Marshall. Thank you, Greg. Thank you, Eddie. Thank you, Bronze. Thank you, Lorena. Everybody else who watched for being here on the show. And we will, Megan, shout out to Megan from, I think, Prana, and she's working on the Rekka publishing stuff for answering questions in the chat for people earlier. That's super helpful and super important. So again, thanks everybody for being here. We will see everybody next week. Same FOC time, same FOC channel.
I like it. Thank you guys all. Remember to get your orders into your local comic shop as soon as you can, so you can guarantee those books that you want, the comics, the covers, etc. Reach out to your local comic shop before Monday, April 28th, so you can get those orders in. Thank you all. We'll see you next time.
Join the party. Head over to our link tree to find all the links for everywhere the experience is all the time.